Hello, welcome. Yay. I see that some people are starting to join. Can you guys hear me? Can everybody hear me? I wonder if you could type in the chat just to make sure. We've just got a few people here right now. All right. No one is typing in the chat. I wonder if anyone can either type in the chat or unmute yourself and just say, yes, I can hear you. Jonathan, you are already unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I am going to mute myself, though, and mute the video because I have to be doing some work, but I'm thankful to be here and listening, and
Great.
I'm excited to hear what you have to share.
Yay, thank you.
Hey.
Thank you, thank you. All right, so hold on one second, everybody. Looks like I'm unplugged. That's important. Don't want to run out of juice for this. So welcome. Thank you guys for showing up and being here during this time. And if you're not able to be live and you're watching this later, same thing. Thank you so much for taking your time to be here and see what this is all about. I'm happy to be representing my school today, Ayurveda Institute, and happy that they're doing this at all. Such a great service to everyone. So just a couple little things in case you're new to Zoom. You have the option to chat if you do have a question or something comes up. There is a chat. So if you're joining with your phone, you'll have to play around a little bit. It's under Other. You can also get there by going to Participants. If you're on a computer, you can go to, there's just a chat option at the bottom of the screen if you're using the Zoom app on your computer. I will be the same, I will be sending out, if you're joining me through Yoga Veda, that same page that you clicked to join this webinar will be eventually, once the recording is up, it will be, it won't say join this meeting, it will say watch. So you'll be able to watch it later. If you're joining me because you got an email and you were sent the direct link to Zoom, I will send you the direct link to the recording later. So yes, so it's totally okay. You can be on video. There's an option for you to be on video as well. And at some point, I will ask for people to respond with questions if you have any. So please know that there will be some interaction. I hope you are, excuse me, I hope you are ready and able to move a little bit, as well as to journal a little bit and to meditate a little bit and to do several different things we're going to try to engage in today. So the name of this class is 5 Essential Practices to Thrive in Difficult Times. And this certainly counts as one of those difficult times, doesn't it? We are in a place where most of us in our country, at least, if not in other countries, most of us are either out of work or find ourselves with limited work and a lot of time on our hands. And so one of the things that I've heard plenty of people say recently,
connected to Bluetooth,
is that is to stay busy. And I want to say yes, and it is so good for us to have purpose, but it is also, we're doing ourselves a disservice if we just try to stay busy during this time, because in this breakdown, there is an opportunity for a really big breakthrough and something like a really special gift we're being given right now in the opportunity to slow down. So the very first thing that I want to start with is just a little bit of movement. I'm going to put on some music, and I just want everybody to move around a little bit. Put on some nice music here. Hope you guys can hear it. This is Cuatro Vientos by Ray and Javek. It's a little remix. And so regardless of where you are, I just want you to start to move your body and pay attention to your breath. Maybe put your hands on your body even. Just like a star across. That song went away. Here's another one, another good one for moving. So put your hands on your body anywhere. It could be your heart, what's calling to you. Could be your arms, could be your head, giving yourself a little massage in your neck, your shoulders. Right? Move around. Okay. Give you a little bit of instruction if you want. You stand up, if you're standing here, and just feel your feet firm on the ground. And if you're standing straight up, make sure you have a tiny bend in your knees, and then separate your feet wide apart. And you're just gonna move like as if you're moving from the center of your body, your hips. Just super simple. We're gonna let the arms flow to the right, to the left, little twist. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Incorporate your arms, your neck, your legs. And then even move it down, a little bit up, a little swinging. Don't worry about getting anything right. Just move. And let yourself move in weird ways. It doesn't have to be coordinated. It doesn't have to be pretty. Try to move all your parts. Now we'll shake everywhere. Shake your head. Shake your tongue. Shake your arms. Shake your legs. And we're gonna rub. Touch your body all over. Legs, feet, hips, belly. Breathing in, breathing out. Belly. Breathing in, breathing out. Heart. Arms. Lower back. Just keep moving. Starting to slow it down. Slow it down. Slow it down. Now I want you to come to a place where you're seated. You could be seated on your own feet. You could be seated in a cross-legged position. You could be seated on a cushion. You could be seated on a chair. Doesn't matter. Close your eyes. You could be lying down. Even. Close your eyes. Feel your heartbeat. Feel your breath. Let's place a hand on the heart. A hand on your belly. with that hand on your heart, you can feel your heartbeat through your hands. You can feel the movement of your breath through both your upper hand and your lower hand. Whether you're lying down or sitting, feel the length of your spine. Feel the energy moving through your body right now. Maybe you feel a little tingly or warm. Whatever the sensations you notice, just notice. Just have awareness. Relax your jaw. And then knowing that we're on a screen here and your eyes are closed, I want you to just intentionally, as you begin to open your eyes, I want you to not look at the screen. So that might mean you turn your body or you turn your head, or it might mean that when you open your eyes, you just allow the eyeballs to focus downward toward the tip of the nose or the floor. You just slowly let yourself come back and take just a few more deep breaths with the eyes open, letting your eyes wander around the room, finding something that feels like maybe you want to focus on for the next 10 seconds. And then when you're ready, you can get a drink of water if you want. Grab your tea, grab your journal and a pen, whatever materials you brought with you today. So I mentioned earlier the idea of this time being a gift. And I just want to make sure that no one is mishearing me and thinking that I mean that I'm being insensitive in any way about the things that are happening right now. But instead, I just want to present and really bring awareness to the fact that our lives have gotten to a point in our modern, technologically driven culture and society that it's gotten to a point where things are moving way too fast. We're overscheduled constantly. Even on days, it's at the point where even on days when we don't have maybe a ton of things on our list to do, there's that piece in the back that is unchanging at this point, this like ever rolling to-do list. Even if we have a free day, like there's so much pressure to continue to perform and to be at a certain output all of the time. So we kind of oftentimes you see people living in two different speeds. The normal everyday, like just go, rush, do, that mode. And then the other mode is like, it happens less often, but the other mode is when that is turned off completely. And when we just shut down. And for some people, they do that maybe regularly on a weekend in a way that's unhealthy by, really doing things that are unhealthy, right? Like trying to numb out, but then going back to the regular grind makes it even harder because we're not taking care of our bodies. For some people, they don't stop at all, even on the weekends, even during downtime. And so the only time that they go into that second, slow down mode is when they have to because they get sick. And so we've been given this opportunity to realign and imagine and remember what it's really like to be human, right? what it's really like to be a human being, which is also a spirit, a mind, an emotional body, certainly a physical body. But there's all these layers to ourselves that are often just shoved under the rug or forgotten about because we don't have the time to devote the kind of awareness, the kind of care, kind of attention that we need to be giving ourselves on a regular basis. And so this is a gift for us to become intimate with ourselves again and reestablish and remember those connections with our body, because many of us are walking around not even having an awareness of our bodies, but also to our deeper, deeper self, the soul, the spirit, the higher self, like even our just higher thinking, access to that. And so I want to share with you today some tools that I think are very helpful in bringing that back and getting us tuned back in, so that we are, you've probably been hearing this word a lot lately, resilient, so that we are resilient, so that our daily lives, we can take care of ourselves and be sustainable in the way that we live each day. And it doesn't mean, I'm going to also preface by saying it doesn't mean you're perfect. It doesn't mean I'm perfect. It doesn't mean that every day you do everything that needs doing in order to in order to like make it so you're super duper healthy. Instead, I want to just say that, you know, being in the flow and being in tune is way more important than a to-do list of self-care items. So don't judge yourself based on those things. All right, so I want to say that this is a time too for us to really recognize that our health, your health is in your hands. Like, it's interesting because not only is there this big outbreak that we're dealing with right now, but we're also, people are being told, like, don't go to the doctor unless you absolutely, you know, unless you think you really need something and it's urgent. It's super, super urgent right now. And that's me all the time, right? Like unless something is really urgent, I don't go to the doctor. And many of you may be like this too, but really, taking your health into your hands, like instead of pawning it off. And I don't mean to say that in a negative way either, but instead of giving over your power of self-healing to another person, or even an idea of like someone else knows better than I do about my body. And yes, if you would like, I'm gonna just say this really quickly because someone commented, if you would like to get an email from me with the link to this recording, you can pop your email in the chat and I will definitely do that. You can, and then you can also be on my email list if you'd like. All right, so let's get down to it. One of the things that is so important during this time, and I mean all of time, and is super under realized, I think, is the care of our senses. We use our senses constantly. Every single thing that you do, you use your senses for. Even if your eyes are closed, even if you're not doing anything, even if you're not moving your body, you're always using your senses. Every bit of information that comes in from the external world, and much of it from the internal world as well, you are using your senses to bring it in, to have an awareness of it, to digest those senses. And so it becomes really important when we recognize that to care for our senses, to protect them and to nourish them, right? Just like you would take care of anything else that is meaningful to you, especially something that does so much for you. And so when we talk about taking care of our senses, we have our ears, our eyes, the nose, the mouth, our skin, right? Those are just basic. Those are just the basic 5 senses. We have other senses. But even in just talking about these 5 senses, Ayurveda gives us lots of ways to protect our senses. And a lot of it has to do with oiling these different parts of our bodies. And the oil in Ayurveda, oil, the word for oil, sneha, is also a word for love. And oil is, if you think about it, it's heavy, it's unctuous, it's nourishing to our skin, it's slippery, it's, if you could just imagine rubbing your body with oil, or someone that you love rubbing their body with oil, and what a sweet practice that is. And so one of the things that we can do for ourselves, it can be just as simple as even giving yourself a foot massage with some oil. And we use oil because any kind of cream or lotion has a lot of other stuff in it. Even if you're buying something that says organic, it still most likely has quite a lot of preservatives in it. There are a few exceptions, and you can make things at home as well. But in general, oil is better. And if you're not used to using it, you would be really surprised at how well it absorbs into your skin, especially if you're doing it with when your skin is already moist. One of the practices in Ayurveda is called abhyanga, and it's where you oil up your whole body, and you can give yourself a lovely massage at the same time. You oil up your body and then hop into the shower or bath and you rub in the oil. You're not rubbing off, so you don't use any soap. And then by doing that, the water allows the oil to absorb in. So just really quickly to talk about hydration, right? We need to drink water, we need to intake water, we need to, have a proper water balance in our bodies. But it's the oil that keeps the water from evaporating internally and externally. So if you can be super moist, but if you don't live in the tropics, you're not going to keep that moisture for very long. So it becomes important to oil your skin and not use soaps for the most part, because they strip your skin of the protective barrier, not just the moisture, but also the good bacteria that is all over your skin that helps us to helps to protect us against the things in the outside world, the bad bacteria, right? And of course, right now we're having to do a lot of hand washing, especially if you are going in and out of your house, if you're checking the mail, if you're going anywhere at all, like washing your hands a lot is important. Or if you're around other people, that's very important. And so then you can put oil back on your skin if you're afterwards. That becomes really important. So, and what I'm going to move on a little bit from the oiling. I'm going to say that oiling your ears, oiling your nose are all really important. And I'll just briefly touch on those, because I want to move on to the other sensory ways, the ways that we can nourish and protect our senses and other ways as well. But one simple way is for oiling the ears. You can go all out and you can lay down and get a little hand towel and get a little dropper bottle of good oil. Sesame oil is generally a really good one. And you can drop, a few drops in your ears, and you can hang out there for 10 or 15 minutes or 5, whatever you have, and then flip and switch sides. And that's actually a very sweet and calming practice to the nervous system, because again of the qualities that the oil possesses and what it calms the nervous system. And when you put the oil in the ears, it's very quieting. It's almost like putting an eye pillow on your eyes. It's like kind of the equivalent in a way. Another quick way to do it is to just get a little oil in your hand and then put some oil in your ears. It's also really sweet to rub the inner and outer ear, like at the same time, all the way down to the lobe and all the way up and into the little spiral. That's a sweet practice. When we talk about the nose, oiling the nose, there's again a couple of ways to do that. A very basic way that isn't going to take up any extra time and is going to give you that a level of protection against things from the outside world is to put some oil in your finger, just like we did with the ears. You're going to use your pinky, and you're going to get all sides of your pinky oiled up, and then you're going to go inside the nose, and you're going to rub all sides of the nose, like all the way around. And you're going to do both sides, and then a little bit of a rub and sucking in of the air, and to just pull the oil up a little bit. So if you want to go all out with that one, there's a practice called nasya. And so you would lie back. You can do it on the floor with kind of a pillow under your upper back or, your heart area, just some way that your head can drop back. I also like to do it on a bed or something and drop my head slightly off of the end. And you would use a dropper bottle again, and you would put a couple drops of oil. You can experiment by just doing one to start with, but 1 to 3 drops of oil per nostril, and do the same thing. Just rub and inhale and just hang out there. This practice of nasya is super indicated for all kinds of things having to do with the nervous system, because you are getting straight to all those nerves that come. There's so many nerves that we have in our face that go to the ears, that go to the eyes, that go to the nose, that go to the mouth, that go down into the neck. So basically, this practice of nasya is good for anything, they say, above the collarbones, right? So even neck and shoulder pain, it's really soothing for you. And just taking that time, right? Like even if, regardless of what you're doing with those 5 minutes or 2 minutes, just stopping has benefit. Just stopping and breathing and being with yourself, feeling the breath. So, and if you want to add a little tiny treat while you're doing that, you could put an eye pillow on your eyes and just breathe. So you would stay like that for, depending on how much time you have, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 minute could be enough too. So that is a really, really nice practice. If you're doing a lot of screen time, and whether it's television, if you've been watching a lot of things lately, or if you've been doing online classes, there's so many cool things and ways to connect right now. Or if you've been scrolling on your phone, any screen whatsoever, then your eyes probably have some level of irritation, dryness, something. And one of the practices that Ayurveda recommends there is also oiling. When we talk about oiling the eyes, there's so many different ways, and I'm not going to go into all of them. I'm going to tell you about one thing that has been really helpful for me that I enjoy doing. And it is using castor oil. I would make sure that you have organic castor oil, or I would, in particular, because of the way that they distill the oil. So you would do this one before bedtime, and you would just either use a dropper bottle, or because castor oil is so thick, it comes out so slowly, I'm able to just use the bottle and drop a drop into your eyes. If that's a little scary to drop it into your eye, then you could also just put a little on your finger, and then with open eye, you would just kind of pat the inside part of your eye, so you're getting it in there. So I do this right before bed. Otherwise, your eyes are going to be very cloudy and it's going to be hard to see and really annoying. So doing it right before bed, literally lie down, I put a little in my eyes and go to sleep. And oftentimes you might notice the next morning that you have more more mucus, more stuff in your eyes, more crusty things on your eyes when you wake up. And it's because the castor oil is pulling things out, because that's what castor oil does. So that's but you also should notice that your eyes the next day if they were dry, will feel less dry, less itchy, more relaxed, more clear. And obviously with any of these things that I'm telling you about, these are things that I've tried and they work for me and I really enjoy the practice of them. But it's important that you feel comfortable with it. And if it's something that you don't feel comfortable with, then don't do it. If it's something that you feel like you want to get a second opinion on, then do that. Ask your doctor, right? You can do that. You can call and do it, teleconference with your doctor. But these practices have been used for thousands of years. And so unless you have some kind of a condition that would make it productive for you or contraindicated for you, then it would be a nice practice to incorporate. So we talked about the ears, we talked about the nose, we talked about the eyes. For the mouth, there's a couple of things that we can do, and we talked about the skin. One is tongue scraping. You can turn a spoon upside down, and use the hard edge if you don't have an actual tongue scraper, or you can use a tongue scraper. And that's just the practice of, in the morning, first thing, you scrape the tongue. And by doing this, we're doing a couple of things. We're stimulating the digestive tract and all of the organs we're stimulating. We're getting the gunk off that's accumulated over the night in a way that a toothbrush can't do. We are, what was the other thing I was gonna say? Oh, we're also, by getting that stuff off, you're helping a little bit to detox. You're helping a little bit to make your taste buds more smarter, so that your palate is getting cleansed. And I'll talk a little bit more about that idea of cleansing the palate later. So that's one fabulous practice. Another mouth practice is to swish with oil. It could be coconut oil, sesame oil, or you could have some other kind of fancy, Banyan Botanicals makes a daily swish, a couple different flavors that are really nice. It doesn't really matter. The practice is that you're putting enough oil in your mouth that you feel it's a substantial amount that you can swish around through your teeth and your gums and all over. And you're going to do that for as long as you can, 2 to 20 minutes, I would say. And then when you spit it out, you're going to spit it out in the trash or outside somewhere, or I've also heard that spitting in the toilet is fine, not down your sink. And what's happening when you do that is just similar to what I was saying about the castor oil on the eyes. Swishing like this is pulling out toxins that are anything from the collarbone up. So it's super good for anything, not just mouth stuff, but definitely mouth stuff. These kinds of practices all are super nourishing and protective for your sensory organs. The other thing that's going to be really good is just paying attention to what feels good coming in to all of your senses. So if there are sounds that you allow to go on that are really bugging you, like someone you live with is playing music that you don't like, or there's that buzzing sound that's coming from, that device, but you just live with it, or a light even, or any kind of a television show that you like just can't stop watching, but you can tell that it's really, really bothering your nervous system or your, you know, your mind, or just too much screen time. There's so many different ways that we can offend our senses. And so just using your common sense to check in from time to time on things that are bothering you, even a low grade bother, right? Like maybe it's someone that you live with who just keeps the television on all the time. Or maybe you keep the television on all the time. And maybe you don't notice and you think it's comforting. But what's really happening is you're taking that in and your senses are getting bombarded constantly. So it's important that even if you are watching a lot of television right now, or doing stuff online, that you take some breaks and that you listen to, is this something that is nourishing me right now? Or do I need to take a break? Do I need to say no? Another way, that's protective, right? Another way that we can nourish our senses is being in nature, is being outside, listening to the birds, feeling the sunshine on our skin, feeling the breeze, putting your feet on the earth and feeling the earth. There's been all kinds of research and all kinds of books out there on earthing and grounding, and the idea of actually putting your hands or your feet or your body on the earth, and what a difference it makes for our immune systems and our nervous systems. So highly recommend that. Yeah. So these are all, everything that I've said so far is the first practice that I wanted to share with you. And that is in the senses, taking care of your senses, sensory care. The other one is, number 2 is sleep. And this may sound obvious, but a lot of times when we don't have to be somewhere, you know, like I said, many people don't have their normal jobs right now, or not working as much. And so there's this tendency to either find things to busy yourself and constantly like be doing things to distract, which is also overwhelming your nervous system and your senses, or to not really know where to be and what to do, and to totally get out of any kind of rhythm. You know, staying up too late because, you know, you're trying to pacify your mind, or occupy your mind rather, and doing things. Just all of those things, like whether you're doing nothing or doing too much, being out of rhythm. And being in rhythm is so, so important right now, to hold ourselves to something. And so when, you know, maybe your job was that thing before, or maybe you're retired and you were volunteering, but that opportunity isn't there for the time being. Rather than anchoring yourself, you know, maybe you're a stay-at-home mom, but you were taking the kids to school on a regular basis, and that was the thing, that was your anchor, right? So what I'm saying to you right now is that we need to find the anchor within ourselves. We need to find the anchor in the rhythm of the day. We need to find the anchor in the sun and the moon, right? And the earth, like the rhythm that's already been present for all of time, but the one that we've been so out of sync with for since the Industrial Revolution, probably since the invention of electricity. So I encourage you, one way, if you're someone who's staying up really late right now because you're doing, you know, creative projects, which are wonderful, I encourage you to stop using electricity. Like if that could be a way. And I don't mean all electricity, obviously, if you need heat or air conditioning or, you know, refrigeration, all of these things. What I mean is for light, so that instead of getting that artificial input of light that is telling your body, oh yeah, let's keep, you know, we're going. It's daytime, it's go time. because that's what that light is doing. The light inside our houses, when we turn them on, when we use them at night, it's kind of tricking our endocrine system into thinking that it's go time instead of rest time. So if you can start to maybe just dim the lights in the evening, or keep on, use candlelight, you know, but eventually trying to wean yourself off of using bright lights at night, and like paying more attention to waking up with the sun and going to bed with the sun, and making a point to even look outside in the morning time, like observe the sun, like bring it into your body, but also the moon and the phases of the moon, because those are the rhythms that we lived on for so many years. For thousands of years, we've lived with those rhythms. And it's only like within the last couple hundred years that we've started living in according to our own rules, and really disregarding nature and the natural cycles of life. And it really has done a number on our nervous systems in a big way. So, and I'm just gonna give you a little tiny bit of Ayurveda wisdom here with the clock, the Ayurvedic clock of the day. Each time, there's every 4 hours, there is a switch of like the different energies of the day and night. And if we don't go to bed before 10 p.m., that's when the second wind kicks in. That's when all of a sudden, like, oh, now I don't want to go to bed, or it's much harder to go to sleep. So if you can start training yourself again to stick with the light of the sun as your guide, but definitely getting yourself to sleep by 10 if you can, and even more so, like, to look to starting some kind of a ritual for yourself in the evenings, so that you know, say you have stuff to do, work to do, kids to put to bed, whatever, and you can't commit to, you know, dimming the lights when the sun starts to go down, but maybe you can just start to do that an hour before bed, or 2 hours before, or whatever works for you. But just figuring out a way that you can start to make a rhythm with your sleep that is more aligned with the day. I'm pointing because my window is over there. But that will be super helpful, not only for just being more aligned. It's not for the sake of just being more aligned. It's for your health. It's for your immune system. When you get the kind of sleep that you need, when you start going to bed with the sun, waking up with the sun, you are in sync with nature, and you're getting the rest that you need. And that has everything to do with immune function. Gonna move on to number 3. Number 3 is making little breaks throughout your day. One of my clients that I've been working with for several months now, has had some brain injury that she's been dealing with, and her doctors have her on a schedule of she sets a timer, and she has brain breaks, that her alarm goes off at a certain time throughout the day at different times, and she stops what she's doing and has a brain break. And I thought that was so cool, because of course she needs that because she's healing from an injury, but we all need that because we are so overstimulated. And because even if you're not overstimulated now, but you have been, the pattern is still there. The nervous system is still on high alert. Even if you aren't going to work, if you've been in that pattern for any period of time, it doesn't just go away. It doesn't just turn off on its own. So we want to start to work into our day these different little brain breaks or moments of centering. And so there's several different ways you can do this. You can download an app. Insight Timer is one of my favorites. You can do something just as simple as this. We're gonna do a little practice right now. So just find yourself in a comfortable way to be. You can even lie down if you want. Preferably sitting somewhere where you have access to a window to look outside, and you also have access to look around the room. But if you don't have that, that's okay too. All right, so you're sitting comfortably. And you're just going to let your eyes roam around the room until you find something that they'd like to focus on. As you find something that your eyes want to focus on, it needs to be something that's either neutral to positive, not something that is going to disturb you in any way or be unpleasant in any way. So you're going to let your eyes roam until you find something. And while you're looking at that thing, you're just observing. Just going to relax your body and notice your thoughts about what you're looking at. Just, there's a little internal dialogue going on right now. How do you feel about what you're looking at? What do you notice? Stay relaxed in your body and your eyes. And then let your eyes drift again until they land on something else. It could be inside or it could be outside of your window. Just look for something that catches your eye. Relax your body and just bring awareness to that thing you're looking at, to any thoughts that come up or feelings about that thing. And then again, if your eyes wander a little and want to find something else, that's okay. Or if they want to stay, that's okay too. And then we're going to let the eyes close and just find a comfortable way to be. Again, totally up to you, lying or sitting. And relaxing your body, and just notice anything at all about your body from the inside. Notice any sensation that shows up for you. This could be a heaviness somewhere, a lightness somewhere, a density, a contraction. It could be a tingling. And again, what we're noticing, we want to try to focus what we're noticing on something that's either neutral or positive. Relax your body and just follow the sensations. And be aware of them. Like you can note them in an internal dialogue kind of way, if you want. Tingling in my upper back. And sometimes you might have a sensation that you can't exactly put a word to, but you definitely feel it. And just stay with that sensation as it moves, and in any sensation that shows up. It could be the air on your skin. It could be the firmness underneath where you're sitting or lying down. It could be the sensations that you're noticing that are coming from you breathing. So just a couple more seconds here, noticing anything you notice. And then slowly let the eyes drift open, not looking at the screen, and just seeing what else catches your eye externally, outside of your body. And your thoughts and feelings that arise about that. You might even notice that as you're looking at something outside of your body, you actually feel a feeling or a sensation in your body about it. And that's cool to notice too. You can let the eyes drift again and notice what you notice. And then just let the eyes close down for a moment. Take a deep breath. And let the eyes gently drift open again. So that is one simple technique that is really good for your nervous system and helping you to move from purely internal to, like, oftentimes we're in our heads and we're thinking in our heads about things. We're almost like, it's like you're in a car and you're like you're trying to navigate without going anywhere necessarily, but you're directing everything from inside of the car without getting out of the car, but just thinking, you know, like this like thing going on all the time, this dialogue, thoughts about things, and you're in that perspective of you're the driver of this, you know, being or whatever. And this helps us to, one, get embodied by feeling our sensations that are happening inside, but also to, in a really neutral way, just let ourselves observe what's going on without having heavy attachments to it, of like having to make something happen, right? Just neutral, just, yeah, that yellow really feels good. Love it, right? And, you know, and then being able to also switch back and forth. This is a practice that I learned from Kimberly Ann Johnson, and it's something that I like to incorporate from time to time. Another just super simple is placing your hand over your heart or over your belly, just putting a hand on yourself to let yourself know you're there for yourself. And then breathing and really just being there for yourself. And whether you have time for 1 breath, 3 breaths, 5 breaths, 10 breaths, 5 minutes, it's beneficial, very beneficial. And so you can set timers on your phone or on your, you know, you don't have to use a device like that. You can set an actual timer to go off every 2 hours or something. And then you can reset it, you know, every time, or you could make it 3 times throughout your day, like however often or however far apart you wanted to make them. It's an easy thing to work in. So Number 4 is movement. And we did a little bit of movement already, but I want to specifically address the fact that a lot of us, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of times we're not even in our bodies. We're all up here, and we're not even in control of up here because we're just letting that reel just play out and run and run, and we're getting attached to like some possible outcome or something from the past, right? That's like we can't stop thinking about. Can go either way. I'm gonna say most people right now might be focusing on the future and not really being present in their bodies because of what's going on in the world. And so doing practices that bring us back into our bodies, where we're aware of the sensations that are going on. You may not have noticed, but when you have a thought or when you encounter any sensation, internally or externally, whether it's a thought, feeling, whether it's a person that's coming into your awareness, whether it's a television show, whether it's a sound, a color, anything whatsoever that comes into your awareness is having an effect. And if you're paying attention and in your body, you will notice that you feel physical sensations that are connected with that. And those physical sensations are telling you things. It's information. If you listen to it, oftentimes you'll be ahead of yourself, like you'll be ahead of the game, and you'll be able to say, ooh, that's a bad idea. Or, yeah, more of that, please. Or, yes, and, or no, right? Whatever is really necessary, you'll be way more tapped in if you're in your body. So it's a great skill, and it's one that we all have access to, no matter how old you are, how far away, or how disconnected you felt. You don't have to be coordinated. There's nothing that you need, just a body, and we all have that. And so moving, any kind of a movement practice will help to get you in your body and out of your head, to balance that, because we're not meant to just live in our heads. In fact, this is really cool. According to Ayurveda, the root of our head, of our mental body, is in the heart. So if you can think of like the thing, when you're using your mind, if you could think of coming from your heart, you're going to do things that are more balanced and more accurate. And vice versa, when we're using our hearts, the root of the heart is in the brain. So in the mental body. So you could think of when you're using your heart, you're also using like your higher consciousness. So being embodied. The other thing I want to say about your body and moving your body is that if you've studied with me before, then you know that you probably heard me talk about this before. It's a pattern that we as humans have right now, a pattern of being in a particular way of moving and not really using our whole bodies anymore. So it starts at a pretty young age because of school. And then it's work, right? And then it's like we go from a place of being curious, excited children, and even in adolescence, to, as we start to get a little older, everything, like more and more of our day, more and more of our energy, more and more of our time is focused on doing tasks and duties and working, schooling, all of these things that really narrow our movement. And so without going into that a lot more, I want to just say that there are a couple of ways that we tend to start to get really limited in movement, and it creates eventually pain in the body. And so I was going to address a couple of those really quickly. One is neck and shoulders, upper back, right? That's where so many people store their tension. And the other is in the hips. And a lot of people don't even recognize that there's tension or pain in the hips until you get maybe a massage and someone is actually giving you a lot of pressure in that area and you realize, wow, that's sore. Another thing is often, almost always, lower back issues, lower back pain is stemming from the hips. And so one of the reasons that we have that is this pattern that I talked about, where we're sitting more, doing less, not exploring our motion anymore. But another reason is that low grade hyper alertness that we have in our nervous systems that causes us to constantly be on guard. It causes the shoulders to rise up. It causes the butt muscles and the deeper muscles in that area to clench without us even realizing that we're doing it. And so there's several different super simple exercises, little things you can do to open up those areas. And I'm going to give you just a couple real quick. One of them is, I'm going to change the camera angle just a little bit here. So one of them is going to be, you can do this in a chair, which is much easier, or you can do it on the floor. And you can also, one way that will make it a lot easier for you if your hips are a little tight and you're on the floor, is to sit up on something relatively high. So you'd want something like a big bolster or some kind of a pad, like something that's dense. So this is a small bolster. This is a Mexican blanket. And this is a bolster, right? So any of these would be great. I'm gonna use this one right now. And again, if your hips, if you try to do this, start to do this, and you notice that your hips are pretty tight, then you're gonna want to move into a chair. So I'm gonna sit up. So see what difference that made in my knees? My knees dropped down a lot, whereas if I'm here, my knees are just in relationship, they're higher. They're like more at the top of my iliac crest here, top of the hips. Whereas if I go up here, the knees have dropped below significantly. Okay, so that's important because if the hips are tight, it's gonna affect it a lot. So I'm gonna rock over to my right side, grab my butt flesh and pull it out and back. Rock over to my left, pull my right butt flesh over to the right and back. I'm gonna flex both feet. So a flex is like this, a point is like that. Okay, I'm gonna flex and it's even. So it's not flexed and turned in or out, it's just even. So I'm gonna flex my feet, and then I'm gonna take this ankle, my right ankle, you can do whichever one for you, and I'm gonna put it on top of the knee. Again, if you're in a chair, you would sit towards the end of the chair, not all the way back. This foot would be on the floor underneath you. But you're gonna and you're gonna pull out that flesh, whether you're in the chair or on the floor. You're gonna flex this foot to protect your knee. You're gonna lengthen the spine and make sure that at this point you have a healthy forward curve, I'll show you, in the lower back, so that you wouldn't wanna be rounded like this. If you're like this, get in a chair, okay? And then you're keeping the spine long and the foot flexed, you're just gonna lean a little bit. So it might even be enough to just keeping the shoulders back and the spine strong, just to lean that tiny bit, and you start to feel a pull in that hip, like in the, and you might not think of that as your hip, but that is your posterior hip, right? And then you're gonna switch sides and do the other side. I'll show you what it looks like without a bolster. Without a bolster, it looks more like this. Pose is called Agni Stimbasana, or fire log pose in yoga. But again, using the chair is where most people are going to need to start. Keeping the back slightly forward, the lower back slightly forward, the spine long. You're just going to lean a little bit. And if you're like most people, this area is really tight and you really need this. More than you think, more than you would have thought. If you have one that's significantly tighter, one side that's significantly tighter than the other, start with that side and end with that side. So that's the one hip thing I'm going to give you. And for shoulders, There's several different things. One simple thing is interlacing your fingers behind your back, lengthening your side body here, squeezing the heads of the arm bones back, and with muscular energy in the arms and hands, stretching open and back with the arms while the heart lifts up and open and keeping your head neutral. And then while you're here, you're going to take 3 to 5 deep, slow breaths. If you can, having a little pause at the top of the inhale. And one more deep breath. Little pause, and then exhale and slowly release. So once you start to play around with the idea of opening up the hips and opening up the shoulders, you'll start to notice you have more opportunities than you think to practice all kinds of different things like that. So the tip number 5, I did already talk about a little bit, and that with sleep, and that was the idea of rhythm. So the rhythm, keeping a rhythm to your day and starting to align more with the earth and the natural cycles of life, the sun, the moon. I highly recommend moon gazing every night and seeing what phase of the moon you're in on that particular day. Just for a few moments even, just having that connection. Keeping your meal times around the same time every day is another rhythmic anchor, right? It's important that we don't eat when we're not hungry, so you wouldn't eat arbitrarily. But if you can start to eat more regularly at regular times, your body's usually ready for it at that time because it knows you're going to be eating at that time. In going back to the idea of talking about the senses, I said I was going to mention the cleansing of the palate. So a lot of times what happens when it can happen anytime. It can happen especially when we're stressed, and especially when we're arrhythmic, when we're out of rhythm. The idea that we start to engage in particular habits that are unhealthy for us, and then maybe have cravings that are unhealthy for us. When the body is really healthy, really in balance, we crave, the things that we crave are healthy cravings. It's what your body really needs. When we are out of balance to a certain degree, then the cravings that we have become not good cravings. They become the kinds of cravings that will take us further out of balance. So for instance, if you've gotten into a habit of really not eating well, and you know you're craving things that are to eat or to do that are not healthy for you, then you definitely want to do something that's going to cleanse your palate, like beginning to like scrape your tongue, for instance, is a great practice for trying to cleanse the palate. Going a longer period without eating can be really beneficial. It can just be one day. It might be that you eat a nice big lunch sometime between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. because that's when your digestive fire is at its highest. That's when your body is literally producing the most bile. And then maybe you don't eat dinner again or that night, just this one night, so that you can start to, like, that fire will start to burn hotter at your Agni. And then when you're in bed and you've gone to bed before 10 o'clock, then that time between 2 p.m. and 2 a.m., you're really going to your body's going to start to do some cleaning up. And the more often you can do things like that, and it really depends on the person. So if you're, if you've got a relatively clean diet already and you are more of a vata type, or like a person who feels like they need to eat more often, if you're like relatively thin and kind of wiry, right? Like having like thinner, longer structure, then you might need to eat a little more often. And so maybe you do eat dinner, but you just eat a really light dinner. And so that you're giving your body a break and letting it be easier for your body to digest. And at night, your body's going to clean up, your liver is going to clean up, and it's going to do a lot of detoxing that it wouldn't be able to do if it were full of food, or if it were trying to digest a heavy meal that you ate at 8 o'clock at night. And doing that is also going to, we know in Ayurveda, anything that stimulates Agni, your digestive fire, and strengthens Agni, is also strengthening your immune system, which is great to know for this time. But also it's going to help you to clean out and clear out so that you can start to have, your stomach will shrink back if you're used to overeating. And then also you can start to cleanse your palate back to something that is healthier. So that's what I was going to say about that. When we get into rhythm with what is good for us and our cravings are healthier, then we are like, our minds are clearer, our emotions, we're able to digest our emotions better because we're not bombarded with staying up too long because we're burning the candle at both ends because we're, the lights are on when they're not supposed to be. When we're listening to our senses and the information that we're getting, then we're able to make choices that support ourselves better, so that, again, like, we're staying more in rhythm, and we're going to start to feel more balanced in an emotional and mental way, as well as a physical way. And it goes both ways. The things that we take in, our food, and the things that we take in from our senses and emotions, our experiences, like our experiences, our thoughts, our feelings, how we digest those, like, that feeds our body in the same way that the food comes in and feeds our body and our mind, right? Like, it's important that the Agni, the digestive fire that we have, is stoked and is strong, not just for the food we eat, but also for the experiences that we have. Right now, it would be super normal to have any emotion, any thoughts, any feelings that are coming up around what's going on in life and in the world right now. And it's important that we allow ourselves those feelings, regardless of what they are. Even if we know better, right? It doesn't matter. We have to allow it, because that's what allows it to process and to move on out of our bodies and out of our mind, so that it's not something that's plaguing us or anything like that. So I want to go ahead and just open it up for questions or thoughts. I wonder if anyone who is watching live has any questions about anything that I've said, or has a question about something else, but similarly related. There is a way to raise your hand, and there's also, you can unmute yourself and just start talking. You don't have to be on video to ask a question or get one answered. Anybody got anything? Thoughts on dry brushing, how often? Yeah, I mean, dry brushing can be a daily practice, it's especially helpful if you feel like you are accumulating right now. If you have ama, or undigested kind of muck in, you know, body, mind, spirit, anywhere, then it's super helpful for that. You can do it daily in the morning before you do an oil massage, before you oil up, and then get in the shower is a good time to do it. I would say too, depending on, you know, your personal constitution, make a good decision by really feeling what that feels like, you know, when you do the dry brushing. Does it feel good? Do you look forward to it? Does it feel helpful in some way? Or is it aggravating? Because if you're a very Vata person and you're also Vata imbalanced or aggravated, then it could be possible, or Pitta, either way, like it could be possible that it could be aggravating. So just pay attention to that is what I would say. But dry brushing is a wonderful practice. If anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, I'll just say really quickly, dry brushing is something you do with it's a natural bristle brush that you use, and you brush, literally it's lymphatic movement that you're doing, and it's also exfoliating, but you brush your skin in the direction of the heart pretty vigorously all over your body, and it's a wonderful practice to do. It has specific indications, like, you know, things that it's really, really good for. Like I said, if you have a lot of ama right now, or like a kapha imbalance, it's even more beneficial. What else about that? Yeah, it's a good practice. Unless you're doing some kind of a specific protocol, where, for instance, I did a detox protocol once where I think it was just for a short period of time. Maybe it was for 2 or 3 days. I was dry brushing and doing hydrotherapy, hot, cold hydrotherapy, and then bundling up and doing like a deep meditation. And that I was doing that a few times throughout every day. Like, that's the only exception that I would say, like, to doing it more than once. But otherwise, once a day is good, unless you find it aggravating, then like not as often. Yeah. Anyone else got anything that they want to like ask? Let's see. Yeah. Okay, this is a good one. How to deal with depression, regret, fear of the future, stuck in negative thoughts and feelings. So one of the things is to get out of your head and into your body, to get into nature. Like, both of those things, like getting out into nature usually gets you more into your body. Getting into your body doesn't necessarily get you into nature, but if you're outside, it will. That is something that's really, really powerful. Moving your body is so, so, so good, because what happens is we get stuck up here. All the energy is just swirling around here, and any energy that was in the body gets like just stuck, right? So we get like blocks all over the place, blocks in the hips, blocks in the spine, blocks of energy in the legs. Then you get like the lymph isn't moving as well. Things get might get painful. You might get swelling. Just things aren't moving like they need to. And so when we get our bodies moving, it literally moves. In Ayurveda and yoga, we talk about prana. Prana is life force. It's also oftentimes prana, or the breath is referred to as prana. More accurately, prana is within the breath. So when you bring in the breath in a way that is very mindful, you can bring your breath into your body. You can bring more prana into your body and let it then it will start to circulate instead of things being stuck here. So moving your body, like even doing, depending on, you know, your constitution and how you're feeling, like doing things that are a little bit hard physically are also really good for us, because then we're certainly out of our heads. We're out of that negative mental thought pattern when we're getting into the body in that way. You can't do something that's physically like hard and still be thinking like a negative thought about something else, most likely. So I think the person who asked the question hopped off for a minute or got cut off, but came back. So you missed a tiny bit. You might want to go back and watch that during the recording. But another thing I would say is having a very regular practice, a sadhana, a practice of like committing to something daily, whether it is, you know, obviously like all of these things are great, but if you're not doing any of these things, then trying to incorporate all of them at one time is too much. So just committing to one thing, committing to moving every day, for instance, and first thing in the morning is a great time, you know, committing to waking up, scrape your tongue, drink a little warm water, and then like just swinging your body, doing something, doing a gratitude practice while you swing your body. Tapping, if you've ever heard of that, EFT it's emotional freedom technique. It's also called tapping. But a lot of times, if you have a particular thought that is, you know, just perpetuating, going round and round, you can do a little dialogue with yourself while you do some tapping. Not sure if you've done that before, but I can demonstrate a little thing for you. So what you'd want to do is think of the thought that is really upsetting you right now, and if you'd like to come on and unmute yourself, you can be on video or not, but if you'd like to come on and unmute yourself, I can actually guide you through a little emotional freedom technique for your particular what's particularly bothering you. So I'm not seeing you unmute yourself, so I'm just going to keep going. So I'll give you a little, so let's say that your thought that is repetitive, your feeling or thought that is repetitive and really, oh, there you are. Margot?
Hi.
Hi. So do you have a particular thought that you can use as an example that's true for you, that like right now, if you sit with it, you have like a thought, a feeling, a word, you know, a series of words that keep going through your head?
Something about having made the mistake long time ago of about probably 18 years ago or something, and that I left someone and somewhere, and like that huge mistake that I never should have done that, and I will never, you know, be able to let that go.
Okay, so you're feeling like it sounds like you're feeling like you're judging yourself now.
Well, it's just like I feel like I just carry that with me, and that regret just like, well, it can never go away, and I can never, you know, have that.
Yeah. And you said of leaving someone?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you can see me on video, right?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever done tapping?
No.
before? Okay, so there's a few points. The first one is this area of your palm, like they call it karate chop. So you're just gonna have one hand is your fingers, or you're gonna use your fingers, and you're just gonna hit that karate chop side of the other hand, and it doesn't matter which one. Okay. So okay. So you can repeat after me, and you can add things if it feels like something that I say is, or you can alter it if it feels not true and you want to say it differently. So you're going to start tapping, and you're going to say, I feel like I'm carrying around all of this guilt every day for something I did a long time ago.
I feel like I'm carrying around all this guilt every day for something I did a long time ago.
It really still bothers me to this day that I did that.
It still bothers me to this day that I did that.
I worry that I hurt myself and I hurt someone else.
I worry that I hurt myself and I hurt someone else.
I'm having a really hard time forgiving myself and letting this go.
I'm having a really hard time forgiving myself and letting this go.
Now we're going to change the tapping point to the top of the head. You can either use one hand or two hands. Even though I hurt someone,
Even though I hurt someone,
even though I feel all of this pain and regret,
even though I feel all this pain and regret,
I love and accept myself completely.
I love and accept myself completely.
And we're going to change the tapping point again, lightly tapping kind of on the outside of the temples. Even though I've carried this around for so long and I'm not proud of what I did,
Carried this around for so long, I'm not proud of what I did.
I love and accept myself completely.
I love and accept myself completely.
And now under the eyes, on the bone, even though I did something I'm really not proud of,
Even though I did something I'm not proud of,
it doesn't have to define me today.
it doesn't have to define me today.
I am sorry for what I did,
I'm sorry for what I did.
and I love and accept myself completely.
I love and accept myself completely.
I hope that that person is not hurting because of me today.
I hope that person is not hurting because of me today.
I'm going to now tap underneath your lip. I love and accept myself completely.
I love and accept myself completely.
Now we're going to tap kind of above the breast. You can do both or one. Even though I did something, I am not that thing I did.
Even though I did something, I am not that thing I did.
I know that I am worthy of love and acceptance.
Know that I am worthy of love and acceptance.
Tapping on the karate chop point. I choose love and acceptance right now.
I choose love and acceptance right now.
Top of the head. I choose to forgive myself and love myself because I know that that's better for everyone, including that person that I hurt.
I choose love and acceptance because I know it's better for everyone.
Temples. I love and accept myself completely.
I love and accept myself completely.
That's the only way I can be free.
That's the only way I can be free.
I choose love.
I choose love.
Under the chin, I choose love.
I choose love.
Chest, I choose forgiveness.
I choose forgiveness.
I love and accept myself completely.
I love and accept myself completely.
I am not what I did in the past.
I am not what I did in the past.
Top of the head. I choose to think good thoughts about myself.
I choose to think good thoughts about myself.
I choose to think good thoughts about that person.
I choose to think good thoughts about that person.
I trust that I learned the lesson I needed to learn from that experience.
I trust I learned the lesson I needed to learn from that experience.
I trust that they learned the lesson that they needed to learn from that experience.
I trust that they learned the lesson they needed to learn from that experience.
I forgive myself.
I forgive myself.
I love and accept myself completely.
I love and accept myself.
Now, when you think about that thought, that situation, do you feel the same charge or does it feel different?
It's honestly, it's pretty hard for me to let that go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is probably something like that you get the idea of, and because it's big and it's deep and it's been there for a while. It's something that you are going to probably need to keep working with, and this is a really good technique to keep doing that. And you can keep moving through this internal dialogue and saying whatever comes up, like letting those, like getting as ugly and dirty with whatever you're feeling and want to say as you want to be, without having an audience, right? Like today, you can say whatever you're feeling inside while you're tapping, and then always follow it with, even though whatever, fill in the blank. I love and accept myself completely.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, I hope that was helpful, and I thank you for being a volunteer, for speaking up.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times when we're, we have all of this free time on our hands, then all of those old things come up. I mean, maybe this particular thing was already there on a daily basis, but even for people that, have kind of forgotten or scraped things under the rug, stuff starts to arise, right? Which is why these different spiritual practices that we do in life, whether it's tapping or yoga or meditation, visualization, like this, your sadhana, your daily practice where you are devoted to something for you to, like, that's your growth, your personal growth, are so important. Because otherwise, we're always gonna, when you're presented with a choice, should I work on these deep, dark-seated things that are really uncomfortable right now, or open that bag of potato chips and turn on Netflix, right? What's the easier thing, right? It's always going to be that comforting ourselves in the moment, like short-term comfort is always going to feel like easier to move into. But when we, and there's something to be said for, every once in a while, numbing ourselves out a little bit. Sometimes we do need a break, from the deep personal work or the learning or the, work and everything. Sometimes it's not a bad thing to, watch some Netflix, to to do something like that. But when it becomes a regular thing, when we can notice a pattern that we're numbing out, for a lot of people, it might be alcohol or drugs, overeating, emotional eating, Netflix binging, whatever the thing is for you or for anyone, when we notice the pattern, it's like it's a flag, you know, we want to let ourselves notice and not just sweep it back under, but let ourselves notice, let it come up. It's uncomfortable, but guess what? When we don't deal with it, when we don't, when we're constantly distracting ourselves and numbing out, then that thing never gets digested. Just like, you know, food or anything else, like all of our experiences have to be digested. And so the way we do that is with these different practices where we sit with it and feelings arise. And, you know, just like our strong Agni, like hopefully in the belly, like our digestive fire needs to be really strong in order to discern which things that we put into our mouths are going to go to what places and which things are going to go out instead of stay in. Our minds have to be able to do that. And so when the belly fire, Jathara Agni, it's called, when Jathara Agni is strong, then and we're moving our bodies, right, then we are able to keep a lot of the, like all the other little Agnis burning bright so that we can digest all of the things. So it's so interesting because even like the food we eat, the choices, all of the choices that we make throughout our day of what we're taking in through our senses and our experiences and through our food affect how well we can digest our food and our experiences. And then that affects everything, like from down to the cellular level. So literally, for instance, you know, having that cheesecake or a pint of ice cream or whatever has an effect on our moods and how well we can handle things that are coming at us emotionally, or how well we can like pull up and honestly and in a healthy way deal with the past as well. So yeah, I want to say thank you. We've been on now for an hour and 40 minutes, and I just want to say thank you guys for watching. Thank you for sticking with this. I'm going to start doing a lot more classes, like some regular classes, with doing movement classes and also other kinds of little things. And if you're interested, you can plug in your email address and I'll be sure to add you to my email list so that you can get it. If you're already on my email list, you don't have to put it in there. You'll already get access to it when it comes out. So I just want to say thank you for being here and spending this time with me. And I will put in my email address, and you feel free to reach out to me. I'm also on Instagram. That's my handle on Instagram, at Sacred Space Yoga. On Facebook, you will find me at Sacred Space. Let's see. I'm going to try to put in this URL. Oops. There. Those are different ways that you can stay in touch if you want to. And hopefully I'll see you again. let's just close by sitting or lying down in a comfortable way. And if comfortable, closing your eyes down, making your spine long. Bringing your awareness to your breath. Relax your jaw. Relax your whole body. And having a relaxed awareness. So you're aware, you're awake, you're alert, but at the same time, easy, soft, relaxed. As you breathe right now, let your body get softer. Let your seat sink into the earth. From your skin all the way in, moving into muscle and connective tissue and bone and organs. And then even all the way down to your cells. As you breathe right now, imagine breathing like a sunshine light into all of you, into the skin, the bones, muscles, the fascia, the organs, the cells. If there are any areas in your body that are particularly, you have issues that you experience, like breathing that light into those areas. Knowing that you have access to this at any time. The ability to breathe and bring awareness and bring sunshine and bring love to all your parts. And you can, when you're ready, if you'd like to join me, you can take your palms together in front of your heart. Maybe rub your palms together a few times, generate a little heat and energy. And then bring your palms together right at the heart, with thumbs pressing into the sternum. Visualization is so powerful because what you imagine is real. Because we are creators, we are energy. And so I was just telling my 12-year-old this morning, or maybe it was yesterday morning, but your imagination is not just something you use to create stories. It's not something for fantasizing. It's how we create. So for instance, you can send yourself love. You can send a person from your past love. And you're really doing it. You can send them healing, love, and light. And it's really happening. It's not in your imagination. That is you working with the energy of your being. And that's another way that we can work with the past, whether the person is alive or not. So I'm going to end by chanting an Om with you. Actually, we're going to chant 3 Oms and then 3 Shantis, followed by 1 Om, if you'd like to with me. So first we'll just take a deep breath in and exhale. And 1 more like that, just breathing in and out. And then 1 more inhale before we chant. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shanti means peace. I forgot to say that. Namaste. The light in me acknowledges, sees, feels, honors the light within you. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. All right. See you guys next time.